入嚟冇嘢㗎，我聽唔見呢啲唔係，哦，turn 1 hour 什麼？11 o'clock。
Okay, all right. A very good morning to everyone. And I'm Pavitra here. All right, so we are really happy to receive you. And of course, we welcome all of you to be a part of this webinar for the day. Right, so I have a few things to remind. So for those UTAR students and staff, please kindly sign in using the link given in the chat box. And of course, to the audience, if let's say if you have any questions in between the session, please feel free to drop us the message in the chat box, okay? So we will get back to you shortly. All right, so getting back to our topic for the day, which will be value your values, align personal values to be fully engaged with what you do, right? So values are something that is basic and of course essential to all of us. And it is a set of beliefs that actually guide all of us on what to do. And of course, it's going to motivate us on how do we behave, our attitudes towards the goal that we set, right? So it is a must for all of us to aware about our values. First of all, we will need to know that what are the values that actually I'm holding on, so that I have some idea on what to decide and what is important to all of us, right? So I'm pretty sure that we have something exciting coming on the next hour, right? So without delaying further, I would like to introduce our speaker for the day, Mr. Chokman. Okay, so I will run through his profile. So Chokman is a qualified neuro-linguistic programming NLP coach and NLP trainer. Also, he's a certified clinical hypnotherapist. So beside years of experience in the financial and payments industry, Chokman graduated as a civil engineer, and he has an MBA from University in UK. So besides, he also holds a degree in psychology and a certified financial planner in Malaysia as well. So while he's working in the financial industry, Chokman spent time with working with executive coaching and also supported teams in financial goal planning as well. So he's the Melbourne City lead for a voluntary US-based organization called Sidewalk Talk, helping people who wants to have a listening ear. So without holding further, I would like to invite our speaker. Chokman, are you ready?
Pavitra, thank you so much. Yes, I am ready. And since you have already explained what values are, my topic, I don't need the full hour now. So you have done it very well and defined it much better than I can. Well, thank you so much, Pavitra. So it's great to be back again, and yet another sort of a talk on conquer your workplace anxieties. It is a monthly talk, as many of you, as I can see from the participants list, that you have previously dialed in before. But for those who have not dialed in before, my name is Chokman, as Pavitra have mentioned, and I am with Extraordinary Life. In the next 45 minutes or so, I will be talking about personal values, how to work out what your personal values are. That is, what are important to you. I will also be sharing with you how to find out what your top values are and how they impact you as an individual. So I hope I'm screen sharing. Yes, I am. So, oh, sorry, let me go back. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to talk about this for the next 45 minutes about personal values. What I would like to do is, and I hope you would, participate by putting your comments, your insights in the chat box, and Pavitra will also be making comments based on her experience and her insights as well. So do participate and put your comments in the chat box. And while I'm doing two screens now, I just want to make sure that my chat box is open as well so that I can see your comments coming in. Just to give you some context of the importance and of values as a subject in terms of personal development, development. When I did my NLP masters, NLP has many different levels. We spent 4 days out of 10 on values. That's how important it is from a personal development perspective. Of course, I'm spending only 45 minutes here, but hopefully you will get a good grasp of what values are if you already if you are not aware of them, and if you are, then hopefully it will give you some further insights on how to understand values better. I think what I would want to share is right up front is my personal experience with values. I have been exposed, as Pavitra have said, in the corporate world for a long time. I go through trainings. I've been trained. I've gone through coaching. I have gone through executive development, and all these, a lot of them actually involves values and values determination. Quite a few times, in fact. Yet, that concept of values didn't stick on with me. It flew over my head. Somehow I didn't really grasp that until I sort of did NLP, and that's when I really understand what values are and how important it is. And I hope I can share with you what it is so that you have a better understanding of what values really are and how important it is. I'm going to toggle screen. I have only one monitor, so I'm back in Malaysia, by the way, so that's why I don't have my monitors with me, and so I have only one laptop to sort of work with. To talk about personal experience on values, so personal values are broad, desirable goals that motivates a person, just like what Pavitra said, motivate a person's actions and serve as a guiding principle or guiding principles to each of our lives. If I were to put it in simple layman terms, it is what we care for. Values are what we care for. Values are also like a boat rudder of your life. Your values guide you and direct you. Now, I want to make it clear that if you need to go to the bathroom and this is what you care for now, that's not a value that you are looking at. Although you care for it, if you are, some of you probably are, stuck in the traffic jam and your petrol level, the petrol indicator comes out amber for the last 20 minutes and you're still in the jam. What you care for is going to the petrol station right now. That's not values too. So values are something, sorry.
So sorry to interrupt. So I just want to make sure that about the values, right? So it seems that values, that is something that is for us to cope with and to have together with us for a long-term goal. Is that yes, means for the value?
Very good. Yes, it is. It is forward. Values are forward thinking. You are absolutely right. So it's not something, a reaction to a current situation. It's forward thinking, and it gives you direction as to how you behave. So the great thing is everyone has values, whether you're consciously aware of it or not. But each person has a different value set. These differences are affected by individuals' culture, personal upbringing, life experiences, and a range of other influences, which I will elaborate quite a bit later on in this talk. So what Pavitra, you said is values are actually attributes of a person you want to be. Let me give you an example. when you are a teenager, and which probably some of you are, darling in, your values, what is important or what you care for are probably being attractive to the opposite sex. Probably in this day and age, maybe the word opposite sex, it may not be the right thing to say, but so some other people, being a teenager, you would be what you care for is sports. What you care for are friends that you hang out with. What you care for are or is music or musical artists, singers, rock stars, those things. Those are the things you care for. But as you get older, then you start valuing your career. Career becomes a stronger value. And then perhaps then you also have values on family. Family becomes very high up as a priority. You may have values on development, being able to develop yourself. You may have values on learning. You may value relationship trust. Those are other values that are relevant to different people at different stages in life. Other people may value tidiness. You're keeping the house neat and tidy. Yet others may value recognition, being recognized by others, by their job titles, by their flashy cars, by their expensive watches, to mark success, because success is a value for them. Now, I want to talk a little bit about family value. That not the value of a family, but what people normally say about one of the top priority of what they care about is their family. And a friend and I had a chat just yesterday about this high value in family. I have done coaching and trainings and all this, and inevitably, almost everyone will have family as one of the top values at the age of 20-something, 30-something, 40-something, 50-something. And yet, these people are senior people in the organization that spend 16 hours in the office and have hardly any time to be with the family. So does it sound like a contradiction? That on one hand, you're valuing family, at the end, you are valuing something else relating to your career. Now, today I'm not going to talk about values conflict, but what I do want to say is this. When the word family is used as a value, each individual, although they use that one word family, has a different interpretation and association to that word family. In neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, we call this complex equivalence. We associate a word with something. In the situation where the executives spend 16 hours working and they say their values is family, many of them are referring to providing for the family, putting food on the table for the family. So, and it's about educating the children so that their family, so their kids, so taking them on holidays. So that's their interpretation of family. Another person with put in family may think of spending time with the family. So that's a totally different interpretation. And the third person may say that, oh, I mean family because it's I want to be close to each other, the family to be close to each other. I want to live harmoniously with each other as a family. So that one word, family, has different interpretations, and therefore in coaching a lot of times we actually drill down into that. What do you exactly mean by the family as a value? So I want to sort of elaborate a little bit more on this, because um, that's how invariably everyone seems to talk about family as a value. So let me just go. I'm toggling between different pages. But what I do want to say is that whatever you have a high value in, you are. If you have a high value in money, chances are you have lots of it. If you have low in value in money, probably you don't have that much. If you have high value in health, say, chances are you will be healthy, you will be following certain exercise regime, you will be having some dietary plan, you'll be very mindful of what you eat. When I do coaching, even if I am coaching, having coaching session via Zoom, the background, now of course you see the backdrop of Utah backdrop. The background normally have a telltale sign of what that person's values are. Typically, if I see a background with a bookshelf with plenty of books, unless it's a fake backdrop, then I would probably sort of be inclined to think that that person values learning, values development, and learning values of gaining knowledge. If I see, say, a picture of someone with golf pictures, golf artifacts, golf clubs, I would, maybe that may be very broad, maybe thinking maybe that person values status, because in Malaysia, golfing is seen as a status sport. Now, whether it is or not, is seen as such. And golf, and maybe that person is just being competitive. He's interested in sports, so he values sport. He or she values sports. If you see musical instruments behind, or picture of rock stars and all this, then the values become music. So that's what we as coaches try to pick up from when we interact with the person. Now, the unfortunate thing is, I think, many people do not consciously know their values, and they end up shooting in the dark. As I say, I mean, those people who have wonderful values have wonderful lives. Values help us to have clarity on what we should be doing. The purpose is to know ourselves better. The values are key. I mean, living your values creates happiness because you are living your life. You're living it. Let me share with you my personal experience with values, which I subsequently learned. I once joined an organization where after a few months, I did not feel comfortable to be in that organization. I was, at that time, not consciously aware of my values. When I did NLP subsequently, I then reflected on what happened then. And it dawned on me that my values were not aligned with the organization. In that organization, the decision is made at the top-down basis. My values is I like decision making, I like independence, and I like to learn. And that organization, decision I say was top-down. The organization expect me to contribute, and the message, rightly or wrongly, or maybe there's something I perceived, is if we employ you, we want you to contribute, not learn. Otherwise, we won't pay you to just learn. You should be paying the organization. That was the mentality of that organization at that time. So that's why those values just didn't sit well with me, and that's why I didn't feel comfortable in that organization. And subsequently, I left that organization. If I had known what I know now, I would have then looked at my own values before joining that organization, look at what that organization values are, talk to people and see what the organization is. And before joining or decided to join or not join. So that's the what they call my own experience with this. Now, I would love to see some comments if anyone has in terms of some of these values and the misalignment of values. If you have any comments, I'm keeping an eye on the chat box, and if you have them, stick them in. But while you do that, I will talk about formation of values. In essence, how we become what we become. Now, one of it is parents. Because we learn so much from parents, our parents' values are sort of, just dropped my earpiece. Sorry. Let me stick them in my ear. Sorry. And our parents actually influence us a lot, and they gives us the guiding principles of what they are and pass it on to us. The other one is family and friends. Because who we mix with, baby mixing with families or friends, we are again influenced by the group's values. Some people in a group with family or friends, they like to lead. Others like to be popular. In a group, they like to be popular. Their value is to be popular. Others like to be listened to. Some others like to be just appealing, to recognized. So as a group, you learn from friends and families. The environment, that has huge implication. The environment, virtually everything that we do is sort of affected by the environment. Let me just give you an example. In Asia, the environment is we value education, we value family values. In the Western society, there is much more value placed on independence, placed on self-expression. So where we grow up and where we work influence our values here as well. Significant emotional events. Now, it can be events relating to health, or someone said something to an individual that emotionally affect you. let me give you a story of someone who went around the eating whatever he wants to eat, no concern about dieting, no concern about eating fatty, greasy, oily food. And then until a significant event happened, he had a heart attack. And then after that heart attack, he is so concerned about oily, greasy food that even when he sees oil stuck to an ice cream tub, not the ice cream itself, when ice cream has this oily, greasy feeling when in the tub, and you put food in there, he will think that the oil, the greasy will affect his food. So from someone who doesn't care much about oily, greasy food, one significant emotional event changed his value totally. I'm sure you would have experiences, not yourself, but heard about or seen other people do it. Another example I would say is like some people stop smoking immediately after an event, a medical event.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's it.
All right, Chokpan. So I would like to clarify further. So
another way, yep.
Yeah, you're here, right? Okay. So when it comes to formation of values, right? So when we talk about the environment, do you think that it does affect our process of forming the values, especially during this environment, like during the period of pandemic or what? Do you think that it could somehow affect our values?
Yes, absolutely. I wanted to sort of bring this up shortly, but you sort of jumped the gun and you were reading my mind.
Oh.
Yes, and
Okay.
Because COVID is such a significant event and it affects, I don't think any one person has not been affected. Everyone has been affected by COVID. Affected as in, the lockdowns, working from home, medically affected, or heard of people affected. So that itself has a huge, huge implication on our values. And I have one of the things I don't know whether you sort of heard about is the Great Resignation now. Globally, there's a lot of people are quitting their jobs.
Yep.
One is because I think there's a sudden realization, among other factors, is a sudden realization that, hey, life matters. So, no, job, yes, is there. I better quit and do something that I like. And people are just resigning from their current job. So, and then our values in terms of health changes. All of a sudden, there is a great intake of supplements, vitamins, and all these things. There's a much more concern with or care for health, especially if you see someone medically affected by COVID. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm keeping an eye on my watch as well, and I have another 6 more to go, but I will very quickly talk about this. Education, what your level of education, because if you're educated slightly more, you will have more knowledge around subjects, whatever that subject is, and therefore chances are your values changes. I mean, if you sort of are educated in psychology, example, then because you are more familiar with human behavior, therefore all your values changes similarly. Age and biology, of course, I gave an example when you're 16, your value is boys or girls or being attractive, but when you comes to like 50, you are a slightly different, you have different set of values, and therefore you at a young age, I mean, I think many of you would have heard Messi, the imprint period from 0 to 7, where you learn everything from your parents or the environment. And that's where a lot of, at that age, you learn a lot of your values from your parents. Geography. I gave an example of Asia, where there's so much emphasis on education. So geography has a lot of influence on what your values are. I can give another example. If you are raised in a rural area, a village or kampong, and if you are against being raised in an urban area, you would have very different value sets. The rural area are very much community driven, whereas the urban area is much more individualistic, because I'm sure you would have heard your parents or your grandparents, if they come from a kampong, they would say, oh, the urban areas, people don't know each other. They don't even know their neighbors. I'm probably sure you heard something like that. So because now people are more, their values are more career, office, as opposed to kampongs where it's community. Religion. This is a massive influence on one's values. Religion itself has their own set of values, and there are rules as to what you can do or should not do. So religion, and because if you have a particular religious belief, your tendency is to sort of be aligned with those values. The great thing about religion is that virtually every religion sort of inculcates trust, compassion, honesty. So, and people. I'm moving the slides now. The other one is media. Media has such a strong influence. Every time you look at the advertising, they are trying to change your values. Or you're watching a movie, which is some form of media. Your values change as well. I mean, a lot of Malaysians, they watch Western movies, so a lot of values also comes from those movies, television programs. When I was doing this, I was thinking Malaysian, one of the top pastimes is watching Korean movies, Korean dramas. So I'm just thinking, has those Korean values come into the Malaysian culture or not? I don't know. This is a question. Perhaps some people can tell me whether they have been influenced by that. Last one is, I think these are the values. Let me move to, I'm not moving my slide.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, economics. I mean, that last bit is about your financial status, and like families that come from a business background, they would continue to have values relating to business, making money. If your economic situation is different, your values may be similarly affected as well. Now, I want to sort of move to another area, which is, if I can move the slide, is how does it impact your life and what does that mean to you? I was saying earlier, it impacts your life because it drives you. And the fact that you have you place certain importance on certain things like honesty, on career, on development, it will drive your behavior to learn more, to be educated, and it also drives in who you mix with as well. Now, I am going to show you a process of how to determine your values. But before determining your values, there is this thing where in NLP we call the wheel of life. The wheel of life essentially looks at a very high level where you are in each of these areas in terms of health, finances, family, creativity, career. So if you look at this circle, the 0 is right in the middle of the circle where the lines, the diagonal lines intersect, and the 0. And 10 is at the edge of the circle. So 0 when it comes to health, where are you now? Is it 0, which is really bad and not good at all, or health, which is excellent? 0 means you are in quite a dire state, and 10 is you are in perfect condition in terms of finances. So what you can do is go through this entire process and then look at which in coaching, what we do is we use this and look at the lowest number. Say at this moment, I'm using health as the lowest number. So now the health is probably 3. Finances is about 6. Family is another 6. Creativity is 8. Career is 8. Relationship is 6. Friendship is 5. And then personal growth as 2 areas to work on first. I'm sure, I hope I'm clear with this, determining what the area to focus on. Now, in the next slide, I'm going to focus on, and I'm going to do this together with Pavitra. Pavitra, are you okay to do this with me?
Yep.
So just to demonstrate what to do to establish values and how to prioritize them. Okay, so this comes to the point about value elicitation, how to find out what your values are. So I am going to, Pavitra, use career as an area because since we are in a corporate environment, I want to sort of use career. So if you can tell me, Pavitra, what are important to you in the context of your career?
All right, it's a very good question. Whenever I get this question, I'm not really aware about it, but what comes to my mind is when I talk about my career, I will put my priority in terms of my knowledge, which is my qualification, of course. I would like to equip myself with knowledge and of course the skills that is relevant to my career field. Because basically I do assess myself, then I found out that I am more interested in terms of education field and I'm passionate about teaching. So I find it that when it comes to career, then I should direct myself towards this goal. And of course, that drive me to get my qualification, engage with those community that has to do with education.
Let me stop you, Pavitra. So you say knowledge is one of your values. And did you say education?
Yeah, in terms of the qualification part. Yeah.
Education. And what else?
Of course, the skills, because I
Skills.
find it that you just learn
Yeah.
something, then of course you could be able to practice it well.
Yeah. Okay.
That we find it that there's a sort of satisfaction that we will get.
Right. Okay. Very good. What else?
So I guess when it is something that I love to do and I equip myself with all those knowledge, education, and skills, and of course it's going to promote to increase my work performance. And of course I'm satisfied with my job. And if someone is really satisfied with their job, I guess you know what does that mean? Like every single day, every morning, when the moment you get up in the morning, you do something that you like, you love. Yeah, that's brings some sort of I can't really describe it, the feeling of it, but actually when you get to do something that you love the most and you have set your priority to your career, and then you are there.
Right. So
Yeah.
it boils down to that word satisfaction that you talk about.
That's,
That career satisfaction, is that right? You're talking about.
yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
So far, I guess, yeah, that is what comes to my mind when I talk about my career.
What if you really, really know what your values are in the context of a career? What would that be?
Values in the context of career will be.
Yeah. What is important to you in the context of career?
You means like it's somehow going to help me to decide on what is important to me when it comes to career?
Yes, you mentioned knowledge, education, skills, performance, satisfaction.
Yeah. So I have
What
four.
else? What else?
What else? So when it comes to career, what else besides that? Education, skills? I guess that is the most that I can think right now. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Now, what I am doing with Pavitra is, I'm just, if I can explain that, when we do coaching, we will continue. Of course, now we are doing it within 5 minutes. Okay, in actual coaching, we do this for an hour. So when I ask you, you say that's it. That's all the values that you can think of. I can't think of it. In real coaching, we would ask, okay, just continue thinking about it. We call this the boundary condition. You will think of a few very quickly, and then you say, no, no more. And then we will insist, go on, and we'll just wait for the person to just continue to go past that boundary. And then once you pass that boundary, you will then go on and list another, I don't know, whatever, 5, 7, or whatever that is. And then we'll then say, yeah, you will say no more. And then we will insist there will be another boundary that you need to leap across. So that's why it takes a lot of time to establish those values. And one of the things that, which I didn't say it, is that we prefer in NLP, we prefer the values to come out on a conscious level, just blurb out whatever that comes to mind. So that's the approach. Now, these, you mentioned knowledge, education, skills, performance, satisfaction. 5 values here. Between knowledge and education, which is higher?
Knowledge and education. I find knowledge is higher than the education.
Okay.
Yeah.
Between knowledge and skills, which one is higher?
Knowledge.
Knowledge. Between knowledge and performance, which one is higher?
Performance.
Performance. And between performance and satisfaction, which one is higher?
Still performance.
Performance. Between performance and education, which is higher?
Education.
Education. And between performance and skills, which is higher?
Skills.
Skills.
Yeah.
And between education and skills, which is higher?
Education.
Education.
I'm here trying to connect the dots, like, oh, like if
Now,
I want to perform, then I really need to have skill. So
yes,
if I wanted to
yeah,
have skill, at first I need to have
yes,
knowledge. Yeah.
yes. I know a lot of this are interlinked, but
Yeah.
the whole purpose is to force you to prioritize those.
Mhm.
And it seems like education is top. Now, I'm not going to go through the second, third. So from the five, I will go down one, compare, and then the second one compare the other four, the other three, and the third one compare the other two. So until the point that will take another 5 minutes to do,
Oh,
to go down to the 1 to 5. So, but the whole purpose of this is to demonstrate to you and everyone here that what that process is to, one, elicit the values, two, to prioritize them, because at the end of the day, everyone has probably more than one value. And at the same time, if you have 200 values, then you won't know where to focus on. Now, of course, in neuro-linguistic programming, we also go through a step of, say, changing values as well, which we will not touch on at this moment. But in future webinars, I will definitely be talking about how to change your values so that if, say, give an example, if money is not high as a value to you and you are doing business, then it may be an issue. It may be an issue. So we may need to reprioritize your value so that it becomes higher in the overall scheme of things. So I am reaching the point where I have done this. But first of all, thank you so much, Pavitra, for participating in this.
you're
And
welcome.
after this call, not immediately, but probably we can have a longer session
Sure.
to go through this in
Yeah.
detail. Yeah. So what I have done just now is just looking at what are your values in the context of your career. You can use the same approach in the context of relationship. You can do this in the context of your personal life. You can do it in the context of your health, just like what I did with the wheels of life. The wheel of life, sorry, not wheels of life, wheel of life. So what I have done is I have sort of said, and hopefully you understand what values are and how they are formed, understand how to solicit and prioritize your values, which I've done demonstrate with Pavitra. And importantly, if you have been listening to and trying to establish your values as you listen, you are aware of what your values are at a high level at this moment. Okay. Now that's it. And I am actually going to say that I, just like in the previous session, I have been offering a discounted session for anyone who wants to establish their personal values. And if for you to reach out to me, if you would like to, and my email address is there, my mobile number is there, as well as my LinkedIn, which you can access. Now, someone, I think probably Sheza or Kartik from Utah, will help me load the deck onto the chat box so that the people can have the deck that I share just now. And now we can go to the Q&A.
All right, so we are approaching towards the end of the session. So now we are open for any questions from audience. So if you have one, and you can just feel free to drop your question in the chat box. We will get back to you. And I guess we have one interesting question over here for you, Chokman. So it is on the formation of value, right? So what do you think in real cases is the big environment forms our personal value, or we join that group that fits our value?
Can you repeat that? I mean, that question, sorry, Pavitra.
Sure, no problem. So when it comes to the formation of values, right? So in real case, so is the big environment forms our personal value, or we are the one that going to join that group to fit our value?
I think it's a combination of both. It is a combination because on one hand, we are learning from the values of the group. At the same time, depending on probably how dominant you are, how strong you are, how independent you are, you will have your own values, and perhaps even I would influence your values onto others. I mean, one very what I call relevant example would be in an organization. When you join an organization, say you are very straightforward, trustworthy, everything is done above board. And if you join an organization where rules can be bent, put it this way, and things are not as straightforward, and people accept that, over time, probably your boundary of being trustworthy or being honest may waver a little bit. I'm putting this very politely. So, and it can work the other way around. If you are not as, you bend the rules, for instance, and you go in an organization where things are very, very strict, you would comply with those values. Unless if you are not, then you would probably leave the organization. So to answer your question, yep, it is both. You can influence as well as be influenced by them, by the group. Thank you for the question.
All right, so I guess Jai has gotten an answer for this question. So we are looking for more questions. Audience, if you have any, please drop us the message in the chat box so we can address your question here while we have an expert over here to talk with. So I guess this will be the right time and platform for us to come out with some questions, anything that you have in your mind that you would like to check with us, you may do so. Actually, we had a very wonderful session for the day. Like Chokman really shared a lot of tips, and one of it that attracted me the most will be like, you should be able to predict, or even by just observing like people's background, right?
Yes,
so
yes.
I guess this will be a very good activity for myself, even like, whenever I am having any session with my students, lecture classes or what,
Yeah.
I will always, being very observant, like I will be observing around, like I really wanted to get to know about my students. And of course, during this pandemic, we don't really get much time, and of course, the right situation for us to meet face to face, and then we talk about it.
Yeah.
So
I think those are absolutely critical, being observant and sort of looking at the surroundings. I mean, one thing that I am always very interested to find out, a lot of people, not a lot, some people say they buy flashy cars. Now, what is the value that they have? I mean, it's a rhetoric question. I probably may not know the answer, because it can be a sign of success. It can be recognition. That person is values recognition. That may be a sign of just being enthusiastic with cars. Or it can be that the person is competitive. Competitive meaning, yeah, my neighbor has this car, I buy a bigger car because it's competition. So even that one thing about, say, a flashy car can have different values associated with it, and you won't know until you talk to the person. Another one that I always see is people like men wearing expensive watches or ladies carrying expensive handbags. So again, what it is, what does it say? It's prestige, status, or just competition. The one that I always thought about is, as you grow older, your values change quite drastically. From in psychology, what do you call that? The imprint period, 0 to 7, and then from the 8 to 13, is it? There is this thing called modeling, where you model someone, the modeling period. Like kids model their parents, kids model their teacher, or some of them model their rock stars. Oh, I want to be Ronaldo. I want to be, they model those people and they pick up those values from these people.
Right.
And then, of course, when you grow older, the thing is called socialization period, if I recall correctly. Social between 13 to, I don't know, 17 or 21. Your social use, how you mix with people. And so at that age, because of socialization, a lot of the children actually move distance away from the family, and they sort of closer to friends, and they pick up the formation of values are influenced by their friends. And acceptance becomes very important. Acceptance, value of acceptance is very important at that age, because if you are not accepted in the group, you will feel lousy.
All right, so Chokman, I guess we have another question here. So how would you overcome conflicts between values in a relationship, like between family or partners?
Yes, that is, I did say earlier on that values conflict is a big topic, and I will not talk about it. But since this question pop up in a few sentences, the important thing, that just like any conflict, is to chunk up what are both parties trying to achieve. That means, like, maybe let me use an example of, I earlier used tidiness as a word. Maybe one partner wants to be tidy and another partner don't really value tidiness, as an example. And maybe it's quite common.
Yeah, I guess I can predict what will happen.
I'm the untidy partner, that's what I can tell you. So the whole thing is to actually chunk up, and in that discussion of the values, chunk up what are we both parties trying to achieve. In terms of one party, tidiness is seen as for healthy, hygiene purposes. Another person think as, oh, untidiness is just that I don't care what the neighbors think. I'm just or my friends think. So to chunk it all up and say, okay, what are we trying to achieve to be tidy or not untidy? And what would that be? It's a rhetorical question, really, to everyone. What is high goal of being tidy that both parties are trying to achieve? One don't want to spend the time tidying up, the other one wants to think that it's hygiene. So I think there will be a need for some sort of compromise by first understanding what that higher objective is. Because I would think that both parties would agree that being untidy has an element of hygiene or lack of hygiene. And because of that lack of the hygiene is an important thing. So then you go around to say, okay, what can we do to maintain tidiness without spending too much time doing it? Because the other person don't want to spend the time doing it. I hope that answers the question. Now, conflicts, sorry, I sort of jump in again. Conflicts is a huge thing, and there's organizational conflict and personal conflict, which I shared with you early on, and that's why it didn't sit well with me. And there are conflicts between two individuals, and there are conflicts between ourselves as well. Our career values and our personal values may conflict. Like as an example, career conflict, maybe you want to progress in your career, that requires you to spend more time in the office. And your family, you want to have a personal life, your conflict is you want to spend more time with your family. So how do you sort of balance that off? I mean, people talk about work-life balance and all these things, but that is one of the things, how to do it is one of those things that needs to be managed. And since this question pop up, I will, in my future sessions, talk about this specifically, conflicts in values, personal, between different individuals and organizations.
Yeah, I guess that will be an interesting topic for us to
Yes.
discuss in future, right? So
Yeah.
we open for the final question for the day. So there is no right or wrong on value. How far do you agree on this statement?
Absolutely. There is absolutely no right or wrong. Everyone has values and everyone has different sets of values. So whether it sits well with the individual, the right or wrong is whether it sits well with you as an individual or not. If not, then you need to change. I gave an example just now. If you are in business and you're not placing importance of money as a value, then I don't think it will be really successful in business. Because business requires money to income, and it requires the ongoing maintenance of staff and all these things. If you say, oh, I get the money, it's okay. You don't get the money, never mind, it's thank everyone. That's not a business, isn't it? So yeah. So absolutely, there's no right or wrong, but whether it fits in with you as an individual, that's it.
All right, so that is really a great sharing that we had for today's session. Right, so I would like to remind few things. So for Utah students and stuff, make sure you sign out using the link given in the chat box, and the audience, please help us to fill in the evaluation form as to help us to improve our future events. So I guess that would be the right thing and the good one for us to plan for more interesting topics in our upcoming webinars, right?
Yes,
And
looking forward to that.
yeah, so I would like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Chokman here, where he really did a very wonderful session with all of us regarding on our personal values. Like all of us know that values are something that very important for us to decide and to get to know our own self first. Okay, so I guess that will be a right way for us to work with and of course to achieve our goals in future. Right. So before we officially end our session for the day, I would like to kindly request for all the audience to turn on your camera so that we can have a group photo as a memory of this wonderful webinar.
While you're turning on the camera, I apologize. I've overrun by 3 minutes, so apologize for that.
All right, we shall wait for our audience to turn on their cameras. Oh, that's really great to see our participants.
Some are not dressed
Okay, I
yet.
think I'll take the shot. Okay, 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, another one. 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, that's it.
All right, thank you everyone. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. Till then, we meet again in our future events. Thank you so much, Chokman, as well, for your sharing.
Thank you. Thank you, Pavitra. Thank you, everyone from Utah, for organizing this. And thank you so much for all these people dialing in. Thank you for your time. And have a great weekend ahead.